Simply put, we're a media company people trust. While much has changed since we first published in 1910, covering stories that impact the lives of South Floridians remains the cornerstone of what we do. The Dolphins' perfect season, historic hurricanes, the diverse dining scene and sand-speckled festivals, and unwavering strength in the face of the unthinkable. Some of our work touches on stories that are difficult to share, but through the resiliency, courage, and very best of our communities, we've been at your side. In all we do, and in all we stand for, we are South Florida. This is the Sun Sentinel.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the Sun Sentinel's inaugural Celebrating Nurses virtual event. I'm Emma Kate Austin, video host and editor for the South Florida Sun Sentinel. I'm so pleased to be with you today for this very special event in its first year, an event that many will likely find both inspiring and humbling. And what better way to honor nurses than today, the official start of National Nurses Week 2021. The Sun Sentinel thanks all nurses who work on our front lines, especially after a year like 2020. We are indelibly grateful, and today we are looking forward to sharing stories and shining a light on some of those people who are doing just that, the nurses serving and saving lives in our South Florida communities each day. And we encourage everyone here to utilize the chat feature to communicate with other attendees and congratulate our honorees. Before we get started on the celebration, I want to give a warm introduction to General Manager Paul Pham, who would like to say a few words on behalf of the Sun Sentinel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Paul Pham, General Manager of the Sun Sentinel Media Group. I would like to welcome you to an incredible, important event where we celebrate, honor, and recognize our true superheroes of our time, our nurses. To all the nurses, you're amazing, incredible, and you mean so much to us. From the day we're born to when we pass away, and many moments in between, we spend them with you. This past year, you have reminded us how selfless you are with all the sacrifices you have made to protect us, humanity, in the face of adversity. Today, we honor your dedication, courage, compassion, and resilience. We recognize you and your hard work. We celebrate your achievements and success. On behalf of the Sun Sentinel family, I thank you for all you do. And to all the honorees today, a huge congratulations to you, very well deserved. Before I go, I also would like to thank you, our sponsor, who make this event possible, our judges, for your time and thoughtfulness in selecting the honorees. And lastly, thank you, our host, Emma Kate, and the event team, who has worked tirelessly to put this important and much needed event together. Thank you, and together, let's celebrate our nurses.
Thank you, Paul. As you can imagine, events like this take a lot of time. They also take resources. I'd like to thank our 4 sponsors who made this event possible in its first year, starting with our supporting sponsors, Care Plus, Broward Health, as well as our major sponsors, Memorial Healthcare System, and Florida Atlantic University College of Business Executive Education, and Christine E. Lynn College of Nursing. Please now join me in watching a few words from both Memorial and FAU.
Behind these masks are mothers and fathers, daughters and sons. Behind these masks are neighbors and friends, people you know. Our connected community, together as one. Because behind these masks is a deeper level of caring from everyday heroes. Committed to protecting our community, your family, and you.
This past year, we have seen how profoundly important nurses are in our community. From emergency rooms to community health clinics, nurses are on the front lines facing sometimes overwhelming challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Together, the nursing profession is answering the call to care. We are so proud and grateful for the opportunity to educate the next generation of nurses. Thank you to the Sun Sentinel and the many sponsors for celebrating our nurses, the heart and soul of our community, our healthcare heroes.
We appreciate the support of all of our sponsors for this year's event. And by now you might be wondering how we selected the 6 nurse honorees we'll be spotlighting today, since, let's be honest, all nurses deserve to be recognized. To summarize the process, the honorees were chosen from a collection of nominations received from the public, and this year's nurse honorees were ultimately selected by tallying votes submitted by a group of independent judges. We know it was not an easy task for the judges to review all compiled nominations, submitting votes only for their top 6 picks, but we sincerely appreciate all that they did, their participation, their time, and their support as we launch this program for the first time. At this time, I'd like to warmly introduce each of our judges. Our first judge, Jennifer Campbell, is part of an organization the Sun Sentinel partners with each year to help raise awareness for healthier hearts and healthier lives in the South Florida community and beyond. Jennifer is the executive director of the American Heart Association, representing Greater Miami and Fort Lauderdale. So join me in hearing a little bit more from her now.
I am Jennifer Campbell, Executive Director of the American Heart Association in Greater Miami and Fort Lauderdale. I was honored to be a part of this year's Sun Sentinel Celebrating Nurses Initiative. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed reading all of the nominations. It was so evident and inspiring, reading the words of how many nurses in our community are making incredible impacts on their coworkers, their patients, and their families. This year has been a tough one. As we all know, our frontline workers have been inspiring and relentless. Thank you for all that you do. The American Heart Association's mission is to be a relentless force for a world of longer, healthier lives. And I know that our research is making a life-saving impact throughout all hospitals in our community. It is with that from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this, celebrating nurses for all that you do day in and day out. Congratulations to this year's winners.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our next judge, Mike Deluca, has over 30 years of experience in healthcare management. He also actively participates on the panel of South Florida 100, a long-running Sun Sentinel program covering important issues and collected opinions from 100 of South Florida's most influential people in government, politics, and culture. Let's now hear from President and CEO of Broward Regional Health Planning Council, Mike Deluca.
I'm Mike Deluca, President and CEO of Broward Regional Planning Council. We serve children through adults, and we're a great data warehouse here. We serve about 18,000 clients per year. We are so happy to participate in choosing the nurses of the year for the Sun Sentinel. We must say, the nurses are our superheroes. Here at Broward Regional, we have nurses too. We think they're superheroes too. I am so grateful to be chosen as one of the judges for this event. I think all the applications were fantastic. I think these are wonderful people. It was a very tough decision to make. But thank you very much. Have a great day, and congratulations to all the winners.
Thank you, Mike. Our third and final judge, Cassandra Burrell, is part of an organization that is dedicated to changing lives and helping people in all areas of our South Florida communities, including health. Cassandra Burrell is the Health Division Manager at the Urban League of Broward County, and here are a few words from her.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Burrell, and I serve as Division Manager of Health Initiatives at the Urban League of Broward County. The Urban League of Broward County is dedicated to advancing our community through transformative solutions in education, entrepreneurship, jobs, justice, housing, and health. Serving as a judge for the Sun Sentinel Celebrating Nurses event has been a pleasure and an honor. I've always had great admiration for nurses. The appreciation for them has never been greater than this past year during the pandemic. They showed up every day and gave us the best of them while others sheltered in place. I am reminded of a quote by Maya Angelou, which states, "As a nurse, we have the opportunity to heal the mind, soul, heart, and body of our patients, their families, and ourselves. They may forget your name, but they will never forget how you made them feel." Thank you all for all that you do, and congratulations.
Thank you again to all of our wonderful judges. We so appreciate you. At this time, we are officially going to reveal each of our 6 honorees for this year. Following their introduction, we'll roll a video that will share a little bit more about who they are. So let's get right to it. Our first honoree is Jennifer Richards Charles. Jennifer is an operating room nurse at Memorial Hospital West and has over 27 years of experience. She says one of the things she loves most about being a nurse is knowing that some of the smallest acts can completely change her patients and their family's day. And now let's hear a little bit more from Jennifer.
I was inspired to become a nurse by the people around me. Working in high school at a retail job, there were a couple girls in nursing school, and I just really enjoyed listening to them. I heard what they were doing. It seemed like a great fit for me. And the funny part about that is that I still work with those 2 girls today at Memorial. The biggest lesson I've learned in my career is to be flexible and that I can do anything I set my mind to. I've changed my specialty to the operating room a few years ago. I'm really enjoying that. Not using as many nursing skills as I did in the past. So when the pandemic hit, I needed to work wherever I was needed. And I went back to those skills, back to the old unit I started my career on. And I've worked with the COVID patients. I've worked in the emergency room, screening visitors, wherever it was needed. It's very empowering to know that you can do whatever you set your mind to. Today, my work is important because we take care of our patients, just as we always have, one at a time, but there's no visitors allowed in the hospitals, and their absence is truly felt by the nurses. We miss the small details that they used to be able to do for their family members, and the comfort that they give them. So we have a big role to fill now, comforting those patients and communicating with the family members. I'm very honored to be celebrated and valued for what we do as nurses. I felt most honored though when our government decided to give us the first COVID vaccines. It was a real honor to be able to be given the first chances to move on from this and stay healthy. And I felt valued as an important person in this fight that we're going through.
Thank you and congratulations, Jennifer. Next up, we have Rachel Chavez. Rachel is a nurse manager in the progressive care unit at Broward Health Imperial Point. She has 20 years of experience and says living out her passion to lead people and seeing the success of the amazing nurses on her team is one of the things that makes her love what she does. Let's now hear from Rachel.
I was inspired to become a nurse by my mother. My mother's been a nurse for over 50 years. When I left high school, I went to college to study aeronautical engineering. And my mother was like, "You really should become a nurse." And I wasn't sure about it at first, but after the first week, I knew I made the right decision and the rest is history. The biggest lesson that I've learned as a nurse is to be humble. I've literally had people walk up to me in an ER and hand me their child that was not breathing. People trust nurses, and that's humbling that you trust us with your most prized possession, that you would just hand me your child because your child is in need of nursing care for us to save your child. So I've learned to be very humble and to understand that people really do appreciate what we do for them and that they trust us as nurses to provide them with great care. So now more than ever, I think that what we do as nurses is important because I don't think that people really understood what we did. You know, all of a sudden nurses came to the forefront as heroes, healthcare heroes. You know, people were coming in and wanted to know what are we doing? How are we saving these patients? How are we coping with the pandemic? Nursing is a really hard job. And I think it's important for people to realize that there's so much more that we do, so much to what we do, that it's sometimes a thankless job, but at the end of the day, we're inspired by our patients just like our patients inspire us. And there's so much that nurses do. It's amazing for people to now see what we do. It is amazing that nurses are being celebrated for the work that we do. We work with an amazing collaboration of disciplines that help us to care for our patients. And I believe that the pandemic has brought to life what we have experienced our entire careers. And now we're proud to get to show the world what we do.
Thank you, and congratulations, Rachel. Our next nurse honoree is Cheryl A. Krause Pirello. Cheryl is a professor at Florida Atlantic's Christine E. Lynn College of Nursing with over 30 years of experience. She says her inspiration to become a nurse scientist came from her desire for lifelong learning, her endless curiosity, and her overall love of nursing. And now let's hear more about Cheryl.
I think my inspiration came from my childhood. I was always a child that was curious and caring for others, not only people, but also animals that lived with me in my home and also critters that lived outside. I was always one to leave little snacks and nuts for the squirrels or little crumbs for the ants that were living in my backyard. And I just felt like such a passion to help others. And I was also inspired by my aunt who was a nurse and really kind of watched her through her career. And I knew that it was something that I could do well and would be really passionate about. No day is the same. Every day is different. You meet different people, whether it's patients, whether it's people in the community. In my case, whether it's dogs. No day is ever the same. And it's really amazing how, as nurses, we can adapt to change and really can be resourceful with the resources that we have. And so I feel that my biggest lesson learned is really to be flexible, to be open, to be caring, and to be honest. My program of research is about human-animal interaction and also veterans in the military population. And with the pandemic, so many people were socially isolated, and some felt lonely, some felt that they had no one to turn to. And my program of research, looking at the human-animal bond and how animals affect human health, has really helped tether veterans to society, because as we know, there is at least 20 veterans per day that take their life. And if we can make a difference as nurses, as my initiative CPAW, then I say that we've made the difference. I feel it's really incredible to be celebrated, but the celebration isn't for me. I feel like this celebration really goes out to our military and our veteran families, because without them, the work that I'm doing, wouldn't be possible. I mean, we're trying to make the connection with those who have served our country, and I'm just blessed to have been acknowledged, but really this award goes out to all of those who have served.
Thank you and congratulations, Cheryl. Our next honoree is Alec Casio. Alec is an RN at Westside Regional Medical Center. He says there is nothing more fulfilling than when a patient looks him in the eyes and says, "Thank you," and that having an amazing team like his is important in order to provide great care. Let's now hear a bit more about Alec.
After high school, I went to a culinary school and started working in a dietary at a hospital, and seeing the nurses and the doctors and the CNAs, I just aspired to be like them. And so I went back to school for nursing. It's been an incredible experience, just being able to learn about the human body and the science of nursing, but even more so, just being able to be compassionate and loving people, you know, at such a vulnerable time in their lives, and getting to care for them has been such an incredible experience. The biggest lesson I've learned is just how fragile human life is, and just waking up every day grateful to have a working body, you know, dealing with so many people who are sick and would do anything just to be healthy has really made me grateful for everything I do have. So now more than ever, nursing and healthcare in general is so important. Facing a global pandemic, it was really a war that we were fighting, and the opponent was, you know, COVID-19, and the soldiers were the healthcare workers. We were the ones running in on the front line and getting into the same room as a disease knowingly, you know, while many people were mandated not even, you know, to leave their homes. So just an extremely crucial, you know, part of the whole pandemic was us just showing up and doing the best we can and putting ourselves at risk for the better of the world, you know, and for the people of the world and our communities. It feels incredible to be celebrated. At first, I was a little taken back, being that I'm so new into nursing, and you know, there's so many nurses that I look at as heroes and I look up to, and they've mentored me and they've taught me. And so I'm extremely honored, I'm humbled, but at the same time, I feel every single nurse, you know, every single healthcare worker deserves to be celebrated, especially after, you know, the year and a half that we've had with this pandemic.
Thank you, and congratulations, Alec. Our next honoree is Christina Keys. Christina is an intensive care nurse at Broward Health Medical Center and a per diem ICU nurse at Plantation General Hospital. She said one of the things she loves most about being a nurse is being able to care for her patients and their families in their most fragile moments. Join me now in learning more about Christina.
What inspired me to become a nurse was my grandfather. He ended up in the hospital with a broken hip, and that was my first time really being exposed to nurses. In the ICU that he was admitted to, those nurses were just amazing. Just watching them, how they treated and handled him, and from beginning to watching him decompensate and just them jumping in and saving his life. I thought that was amazing. The biggest lesson I've learned in nursing is that tomorrow is not promised. Working in critical care, you really get to realize that life is precious. And death doesn't discriminate as far as age. I've seen all ages, unfortunately. So just take it day by day and don't sweat the little stuff. For me specifically, being a critical care nurse and working with ICU COVID patients, I think my work is really important because, these patients are isolated. Once they end up on the ventilator, a lot of them don't make it. So I think the biggest part right now, besides taking care of these patients and making sure they get all their treatments, is giving them that human touch and connecting them with their families via FaceTime, via phone calls, and just being there when those people pass and just holding their hand. I think that it's really nice and it feels nice for the recognition. But I also feel like every nurse should be celebrated because I don't know what would make me better than any other nurse out there. We're all in this together. We're all facing the same struggles together. Nursing is hard, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, Christina. Our last, but certainly not least of our 6 honorees for the 2021 Celebrating Nurses program is Karenine Cherry. Karenine is a nurse in the pediatric emergency room at Joe DiMaggio's Children's Hospital. With over 30 years of experience, she says that the part of her job that she loves most is the human connection with her patients and her peers, and also shares that she feels blessed to earn a living doing something that she would volunteer to do. Let's hear more about Karenine now.
My grandmother inspired me to become a nurse after she had a stroke. She learned to say my name, a 3-syllable word, while working with her speech therapist. From then on, I knew I wanted to help others. The biggest lesson that I've learned is that it is easier to heal the mind and soul than it is the physical body. As a nurse, I touch bases on someone's emotional needs as well as their physical needs. Now more than ever, I feel that my work is important because with this recent age of technology, compassion is often lost at the bedside. And within the past year, with Corona, a lot of patients were by themselves most of the time. My work is more important now than ever because I take accountability of providing the compassion and healing touch to the patients. I feel humbled and grateful to be acknowledged. It is a privilege to be able to help others. There are so many nurses who give of themselves freely every day, and it is a vocation that we enjoy.
Congratulations, Karenine, and thank you again to all of the amazing nurses for sharing their inspiring stories with us today. We appreciate all that you do. The Sun Sentinel event team will be reaching out directly to our nurse honorees to make arrangements to get them each an honorary plaque as well as a digital gift card as a token of our appreciation for everything they do for our communities each day, as well as for participating in this inaugural Celebrating Nurses program. And that officially wraps our program for today. Thank you to everyone here that joined us. The Sun Sentinel will publish a Celebrating Nurses special section this Sunday, May 9th, as well as post a recording of this virtual event and profiles of all the honorees at sunsentinel.com/celebratingnurses. In closing, I'd like to offer another sincere thank you to all nurses, our judges and sponsors, Care Plus, Broward Health, Memorial Healthcare System, and FAU. We hope everyone enjoys a full week of celebrating our nurses now through May 12th, and we'll see you again next year.